Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. First up for T&D today, we have the 1976 Father's Cruise, 1976 Father's Mug. It's got this really kind of uncomfy picture of a boy skiing with his dad in the background on the backside of it. And inside of said mug, we have some Country Peach Passion from Celestial Seasonings. This is a really, really good one. It is caffeine-free. So it's not great for, like, if it is going to be your get up in the morning, but it's a nice, like, actually sort of mid-morning one if you are not actively looking for something to keep you on your feet, because it is kind of, it's like a heavier fruity, but not like a richness kind of thing, just kind of like a, that doesn't make any sense, but you know what, that's what I'm going with. So anyway, let's get into what we were actually talking about today. We're talking about 5 different magic items that are arguably the best for barbarians. The 5 magic items that are arguably best for barbarians. There we go. That's closer to what I was actually going for. This is sort of a continuation of that thing that I did a little while back when I was looking for magic items for my sorcerer, and I went, maybe I'll make this a series. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and we're going to make this a little bit of a series. You would think that I would start at Artificer, wouldn't you? You would, but here's the thing. Artificers have a whole lot of stuff going on with them. They have a lot of magic item stuff like kind of built in, so they're going to take a little bit longer for me to actually like figure out. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go with Barbarians. These guys are super straightforward. You will notice a pretty solid theme here as we go through here. These are not presented in any particular order, just the order that I have them written down here. But there are some of them on here that are obviously a little bit more powerful than others. There's a couple of the like top, and I tried to avoid those last time, but the reality is that they are super rare and super powerful for a certain reason. So let's go ahead and let's dive into it. Our first item here is actually kind of a 2-part item because of the way that it is. It is the Belt of Giant Strength / the Gauntlets of Ogre Power. Both of these things set your strength score. That is the end-all be-all of it. And the reason that I have both of them on here is because in the event that you are able to be equipped with a Belt of Dwarven Kind, which I don't have on this list because I knew I was going to talk about it in this section. Belt of Dwarven Kind is a really fantastic thing. You're not going to be able to wear a Belt of Giant Strength, and so you're going to be locked into the Gauntlets of Ogre Power. But that's not a bad thing. Gauntlets of Ogre Power sets you to 19, and Belt of Giant Strength sets you to whatever a giant it is associated with, potentially all the way up to a 29. Obviously, that is a legendary type item, so you're not going to just like stumble across one of those, but you actually have a decent shot of stumbling across one that sets you to 23, something like that. Just a little bit higher than your average bear, if you will. And one of the good things about having a weapon like this is while it does require attunement, it is going to be something that helps you sort of circumvent the fact that a barbarian is a sort of 3 ability score class, right? Because you don't really have a whole lot of dex-based barbarians because they're not the most feasible all the time, because so much of the barbarian stuff feeds back into having a really good strength score. And so if you can go ahead and set your strength score and then have a decent dexterity and focus a lot into constitution, you are going to be a well-set barb at that point, because you're going to have a big old stack of hit points. Your constitution is going to be adding to your armor class. You're going to not have a terrible dexterity score to also bump your unarmored AC a little bit. And you're going to have this magic item that would set you from your average sort of like 14, 15 up to a 19 plus, which is exactly what you're kind of looking for. So first out the gate, Belt of Giant Strength / Gauntlets of Ogre Power. Next down on the list, this one is not super surprising to anyone, I'm sure. It's one that I think is ranked, or rated, there we go, much too low for what it is. The fact that it is an uncommon, which is what I mean by ranked, an uncommon magic item is absurd to me. These are the winged boots, the boots that allow you to fly. What do barbarians really struggle with? They struggle with getting in close if something is off the ground. Winged boots give you a fly speed, lets you just sort of run on air. And so having them as a barbarian makes it so that you can actually close that distance and you don't have to have some kind of specialty item or feel useless in a fight. And so being able to go ahead and just kick off the ground and get going up to wherever this thing is is going to be super helpful. Additionally, something like Wings of the Bat or something like that, anything that really gives you a fly speed is helpful. The fact that these are boots, you don't have to try and hold on to them. You don't have to like actively use them with your sword axe swinging bits. That is what is really helpful with this. So wing boots are definitely going to make the list before something like a Broom of Flying does. Just because of that fact. There is not really a shot for your DM to say, okay, well, you fall off of your boots, while they might be able to actually say that about your broom, if that is what your flying implement is. So, wing boots, definitely making this list. How could it not, honestly? Next up on the list here is the Sword of Wounding. You might go, what is that? I've never heard of that. And honestly, I just heard about it recently for the first time. And I'm not entirely sure why I didn't know about it before, because it is a very interesting thing. It is a sword that allows you to do some chip damage to people, which is really sort of odd. So every time you hit with an attack, you have the opportunity, if you so choose, to wound an enemy. Once per turn, when you hit with an attack, you can go ahead and decide to wound that enemy. That enemy then at the top of their turn takes 1d4 necrotic damage for every wound that they have suffered from you. And then they also make a DC 15 Constitution saving throw to attempt to finish that off, to make it so that that is not something that they have to deal with anymore. If they fail, you can continue to stack them. If they do succeed, it resets, but if you wound them, you are guaranteed a d4 of necrotic damage at the top of their turn, one way or another. And if they don't succeed on that saving throw, the next turn, if you hit them again, 2d4, 3d4, 4d4, just continuing to go on and on as you go. And the other thing is with this, right, it is a once per turn when you hit a creature with this, which means that you can do it on an opportunity to attack too. So let's say they start to run away from you, you reach out, you slap them with the sword. It is already past the beginning of their turn, so they're guaranteed to be hit for one of those d4 of necrotic damage. And then if it comes back around to your turn, you hit them again, it's 2d4 at the start of their turn. Just straight out guaranteed, assuming you can stay in range. And if you, say, take something like Sentinel, they're not going to be able to get away from you particularly easily. So this is one of those things where it is really interesting to be able to stack this kind of extra damage on there. Alternatively, to them making the Constitution save, a different creature can make a DC 15 medicine check, ending it while they're right next to them, but that requires them to have a buddy, and that is actually not as common as you might think. And medicine is not something that people oftentimes will, like, you know, throw a lot into for an NPC. Not the point, though. The other thing that's cool about this is it can be any sword. And so you have the ability to make it a short sword, scimitar, rapier, all the way up to a great sword, which is, you know, usually what your barbarians are going to trend towards anyway. But the fact that it can be any one of those swords is really fantastic, and something that I personally appreciate a lot. I like having the ability to go ahead and mix it up and throw different things at my party members without feeling like it might be too good or too bad if I have changed the weapon type, without then also going in and making sure I don't have to adjust more of the enchantment on that weapon. So, Sword of Wounding, check it out. It is an older item. It's from the original rule set. So the fact that I didn't know about it is, or that I had read about it, I guess, and just forgot about it, is odd, because it's the kind of thing that I really do enjoy. So next up, we have something that everybody should probably have guessed right away when they saw that I was doing this. Blah, 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 whatever. We have the Vorpal Sword. Like I said, there were going to be several things on this list that are like legendary status, and this is one of those things. Vorpal Sword is one of those things that just, you gotta have it. It's a +3 weapon to start. So a +3 weapon outright. There's a reason it's legendary. It ignores all resistance to slashing damage, so you can go ahead and just beat people down with this thing unless they are absolutely immune to slashing damage. All this damage is going to carry through. And If it has at least one head and you roll a 20 on the attack roll, you cut off one of the heads. The creature then automatically dies if it can't survive without a head. It's immune to the effects if it is immune to slashing damage, and or doesn't have or need a head, has legendary actions, or the GM decides the creature is too big for its head to be cut off with a weapon. That creature instead, on that natural 20, take an extra 6d8 slashing damage from the hit. Again, this is one of those that could be any sword, so you can make this a great sword for your Barbarian. I'm throwing this in here with them because while, yes, any sword that can just, like, slaughter things left and right is very, very good, the fact that this thing especially works on crits is extra good because Barbarians have the ability to give themselves advantage on their attacks just because they want to. Because they go, I don't care who hits me, and then they launch into it. They are more likely to roll a critical hit on an attack than really any other classes because they have the ability to impose advantage on themselves with the only repercussion and outside force being the fact that other things have advantage against them then following that. So, the fact that they are twice as likely, that's not how that works out, obviously, that's not how odds work, but just stick with me. The fact that they have 2 chances, there we go, to actually hit that critical hit every single time and deal that extra 6d8 slashing damage, in addition to a brutal critical, doubling all their dice, stuff like that, is what makes this such a good choice for Barbarians in particular. It's so good, it really is. I have never had the opportunity to use a Vorpal sword or have one in one of my games. There's always something else that comes up, or I have like made these crazy magic items. So someday it'll be in there, and I'm gonna really enjoy it. And that does bring us to the last item on our list. This one is something special in particular. It has a lot of caveats on it. It is the other reason that I don't have the Belt of Dwarven Kind on here, and it is the Hammer of Thunderbolts. Again, another legendary weapon. This one is a Maul that is a +1 weapon. You might be saying to yourself, why is it that this thing is legendary with a +1? Well, let me tell you. While you are attuned to this weapon, you also have to be attuned to a Built of Giant Strength and a Gauntlet of Ogre Power to attune to that weapon. While you are tuned to the weapon and holding it, your strength score increases by 4 and can exceed 20, but not 30, which means the way that is framed, you have the ability to manually increase your strength score past 20 while you are attuned to this weapon. Let me say that again. You can increase your strength score past 20 with this weapon. The fact that you can feasibly, the way that this thing is written, take your ability score improvements and put them into strength while you are attuned to this weapon is insane. That is absolutely crazy to me. Additionally, on top of that, when you roll a 20 on an attack roll made with this weapon against a giant specifically, that giant has to succeed on a DC 17 con save or die. Just die outright. And again, don't forget, this is one of those things where Barbarians are more likely to actually hit that natural 20, and that natural 20 is pretty dang good. This hammer, Maul, also has 5 charges. While attuned to it, you can expend a charge and make a ranged weapon attack with the hammer, hurling it as if it had the thrown property with a normal range of 20 feet to a long range of 60 feet. Gives you some range so that you can close that distance if they're flying or something like that without having to have something that actually makes you fly. If the attack hits, the hammer unleashes a thunderclap audible out to 300 feet. That target and every creature within 30 feet of it must succeed on a DC 17 con save or be stunned until the end of your next turn. Hammer regains 1d4 plus 1 charges every day at dawn. So, let's walk that back real quick. First and foremost, you can manually increase your strength score over 20, up to 30. You can just flat out kill a giant on a con save. You can spend a charge to hurl this thing and stun every creature within a 30-foot radius. It is one of the most like niche weapons in the game, don't get me wrong. You have to have these other two things attuned to you in order to actually use it. But the fact that you then are able to do all of this crazy stuff makes it that much better. Honestly, just makes it that much better. Quite frankly, this would also be a good item for artificers because they can attune to more than 3 things, and they wouldn't have to fill all their slots just to have this one thing. But for barbarians, this is so good. It is so brutally good, especially if you're playing something like Storm King's Thunder or something like that, where it just sort of happens that, you know, you're going to run into quite a few giants along the way. So anyway, those are 5 of the best, in my opinion, the best, magic items for barbarians in 5th edition. Let me know what you think yours are, because I adore these, and I think that while there are some other good contenders, this one is, I mean, come on, right? Come on. I will say the Belt of Dwarven Kind is way up there as well. The fact that you get that +2 Constitution, gives you extra hit points, gives you extra armor class, like, that is not something to be overlooked. Do not get me wrong. But with barbarians, their offense and their tanking, really probably in that order, are what make them, what define them as a class. So the offense, where you get extra strength, that's kind of where the loyalty has to lie. So anyway, getting into the shows that we have today, it is Monday, which means in no particular order we have our extra long list. We have The Paper Dungeon, Chromatic Dice, Beyond the Realms, Unprepared Casters, Greetings Adventurers, Bards of New York, Hapless Heroes, Ivan Adventures, Cast Party, 3 Black Halflings, Hello from the Magic Tavern, King Leo D&D, Anti-Heroes Anonymous, The Tabletop Tavern, Top of the Round, and League of Lady Adventurers. Let them know that I sent you, because again, someday somebody's going to say something to me about it, and I'm going to think that it is funny, but until then, I'm going to keep asking you guys to do it. But that is everything I have for you guys today. So, thank you so very much for making me part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it, and thank you so much in particular to my patrons. You guys are the ones that make this show possible. If you're interested in becoming a patron, check out the link in the episode description. Yep, that's it. So, with all that said, it was a weird dismount, but whatever. With all that said, guys, do not forget, drink tea, play D&D, and keep on rolling.